Hey everybody, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you can hear me. This is probably going to be fraught with technical difficulties. I am streaming from my garage over Wi-Fi because that's the only way I can do this. And I'm on a lot of painkillers. I tore my ACL yesterday, and I had to hobble down the stairs to get here, and it took me like 30 minutes to get into the studio. So I'm a little loopy. That ought to be fun. But anyway, yeah, let's say hi to everybody out there. It's been a long time since I've done a live stream. Let's catch everybody who's in here so far. We got John Coopy. Hey, John, what's up? Real Boy FPV, Fun Per Volt FPV, Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper. Let's see. Let me scroll down. You guys have been talking. Volertis. I can never pronounce your name correctly. That dude has a really awesome FPV store. You should definitely go check it out. He's actually one of the most local FPV stores to me. He's carrying new stuff all the time. Go check his website out. It's pretty good. Good prices over there too. All right. Keep us scrolling. Who else is here? Who else do we got? Gen X FPV. What's up? Crash and Burn FPV. Free Range Chicken. Little one-on-one. Marin Espiritu. Let's see. Who else? Jeremy Stone. Boondock Striker. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Well, this is the Hoagies and Grinderinos stream because the whole time I've looked at this Grinderino, I can think of nothing but Adam Sandler singing the Lunch Lady song. A few more of you showed up. AK FPV, Curtis Hayes. What's up? Mr. B FPV. Awesome. So today we're going to build some of this because I have a whole build kind of centered around the Grinderino. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And I've got all the other parts. I'll show you what I'm going to use for it. And I'm going to do a whole not a beard series. Like I said, the painkillers are really getting me. A whole build series on the Grinderino as a 3.5-inch basher because I think it's a pretty awesome idea to have a small pocket basher. But I've got all the rest of the parts, and we'll go over that here in a little bit. But I'm going to start building the frame in a minute. I'm going to let everybody get in first, though. What's up, everyone? Yeah, little one-on-one. You might need a Wi-Fi booster, he says. Yeah, I have Google Nest Wi-Fi, so I've got 3 extenders, and this is like the far end of the house. So I'm going through the third most extender, and it's going to be pretty bad. So hopefully it's not too jittery and terrible, but you guys let me know. What's up, Monkey D FPV? Good to see you. Booster FPV. And yeah, my camera can do some fancy stuff now. I have this button that now makes it a desk cam. So you can see the Grinderino in all its glory. So I'll be able to build it down here while you guys watch. And there's a good chance that I'll like mess up a whole lot because I don't really know what's going on right now. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you this really cool shirt that I got from the guys over at Ready Set Drone. Check that shirt out. It's really awesome. T-Rex flying with his DJI goggles. Yeah. Sitting in a chair. He's got the little arms. Valertis, this is not a Link 360. This is the OBSBot Tiny 2 that I reviewed a while back. It's a pretty nice camera, actually. It doesn't look half bad for the lighting I've got in here. I have really cheap, minimal lighting in the studio. And it's addressable with my Stream Deck, so I can press a button and it moves itself around. I can actually have like 3 of these cameras in groups, which is really nice. All right. Booster says the project drone is done. Just need a Crossfire Nano RX. Is it hard to get the Crossfire stuff lately? I seem to remember people having a hard time getting their hands on receivers lately. So, and yeah, Valertis, the Link 360 does do the same thing. It's just I don't know what the price difference is. I know what the OBSBot cost. I think it was like around $300, but it can do 4K, which is one reason why it's really nice and I like it. I actually use it as a secondary camera in the studio quite a bit. So, all right. Well, the stream should be nice and warm, so I'm going to start getting the parts out on the Grinderino. I don't know if any of you guys have a Grinderino at home. How many of you are building one or have built one? I have really wanted to try. I bought grinders, frames with Tommy Tabahia. Oh, my God. Dude's been flying forever, and Bot really knows what he's talking about when it comes to bashing and concrete bando flying. So this ought to be really cool as a basher, and I never got to try the Demibot. I never had a reason to try the Demibot because I didn't have the I didn't have the flight spots for it. Most of where I fly is trees and grass. I mean, you guys have seen that. So this is going to be really cool, though, for the small bandos that I actually can get into. I can't get anything big enough for a 5-inch, but 3.5-inch ought to be pretty cool. All right, let's switch over to the desk cam and see how this goes. I'm going to bust everything out of this package. What's up, Skyotic FPV? All right. Paracos, what's up? Trying to decide for a couple of days to buy a Grinderinos or a Quadmula F3. Ooh, that is a tough decision. Well, maybe after you watch me build this frame today, you'll have some more answers. There's a lot of stuff that comes with this. Yeah, they even give you a little slice of grip, and this isn't the normal grip. This is actually a special kind of grip, which is pretty nice. I have both of them. If you've never used grip, they come in 2 different kinds. This is the light, so it's a little bit thinner and a lot lighter in weight than the standard grip, which I have too. I use this on every quad because if you're not using a very sticky battery pad, you're totally missing out. Absolutely. All right. Yeah, Valertis agrees. The Grinderino for sure. And I do have both. I have the Siren F3 split in all its variations. And I really like my Sirens. But this Grinderino will be a different take on it. But we've got all the arms out here. We've got the bottom plate. We've got the mid plate. Actually, that's the mid plate. This is going to be the mid plate. The bottom plate and the key. A couple standoffs. A bunch of screws. Some M2 nuts. Some M2 screws. Top plate. They even included this really nice battery strap. It's one of the fiber reinforced kind with the rubber on the bottom. It's a really nice strap. They really didn't skimp out on this. It's really good. And they got 2 of them actually in there, which is nice. And even some 3D prints for your camera. Depending on the camera you're running, these might work for you. They're just a standard like D or P shaped mount. You know, get the normal stuff in there. So I'm going to start opening up some of these packages and we're going to read some comments. You guys got any questions while I'm doing this? You're going to watch me open these with my teeth because I don't have any scissors and I can't walk to go get them. So the teeth it is. Arrgh. Yeah, a little one-on-one Kevlar lining. The Kevlar line straps are awesome. If you've never flown Kevlar line straps, if all you ever used is the like race day quads ones that come for free, it makes a big difference when you crash. It really does. You really don't want to be slinging your battery off to the back of your quad in a crash. And the Kevlar line ones are really good about that. I break a lot of straps, even in grass. So I tended to try to always get the Kevlar lines. Booster says, I have a Catalyst Machine Works Bengod that I want to get done one day. That's a cool frame too. Catalyst Machine Works stuff is really nice. I have never ordered anything from them, but I have seen them a lot, and I've flown a couple, and they're really nice. And that's the frame, or not the frame, the arms. This is the arm design, so you can see it's a slotted in, and that'll make a lot more sense whenever we get to the keyway portion with a single hole. So this should be a single bolt arm change, which is nice. I have actually already looked at this frame once. That's why the package was open. And I kind of know that we're going to run into a problem at some point that I think we're going to have to address with some stuff that did not come with the frame. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do when we get there. And if you run into the same kind of problem, if you're building one of these, maybe it'll help you out. All right, got to sort through all these screws real quick because there are no instructions in the package. You got to figure it out yourself. That's okay. We're FPV pilots. We do that. What's up, Ligma FPV? Vitriflies in the house. Xing. Gen X. I have so many free ones from RDQ. I doubt I ever need to buy one though. I have. So when I moved to this studio, I went through all my FPV stuff and like threw away the junk I'm never going to use and couldn't give away to anybody because it was useless. And then packed up the rest of it. And I actually packed up an entire box about this big of RDQ battery strips. That's how many I have floating around in my house. Yeah. Skyotic says he needs to repair his Volador 3.5, get a camera calibration error on my O3 Air Unit. Yeah. Camera cable is damaged, but not sure if the cable's repairable yet. It's really hard to repair those cables. Those little MIPI cables have so many little wires in them. And I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think you can buy just the cable from DJI either. I know you can buy the camera now. You might have to buy a whole camera to get the cable, which would not be cool, but it's possible that's the way it goes. What's up, 8-Bit? What's up? Okay, I've got most of this stuff out of the package now. You can come with extra press nuts, and we'll show you what these are for later. The real issue, and this is the mid plate here, so all your screws go through and attach to the press nuts here, but you'll notice there are 4 big holes in the middle that do not have press nuts. That's where we're going to have a problem here in a little bit. All right, I'm going to switch back to the desk cam. Oh, Ligma says iFlight sells the MIPI cables. That's good to know. Thank you, Ligma. Because that is going to be super helpful for people. That's one of the worst things is when you break a MIPI and then you can't just get the MIPI. All right. So I know about this frame that this is going to be the camera cage in the front. And then it's going to sit like this with the arms in between like that. So I'm just going to lay everything out on top to make sure we have a good fit. Get my standoffs out of the way here. Make sure my keyway is going to be correct. It's always good to dry fit everything in a frame you've never built before. Make sure that you are correct in your assumptions. All right, so that's going to be the keyway design. There's a little square piece of carbon in the middle. And then that's going to sandwich it all together right there. And then we'll have a frame. So rather than try to do all of this with the arms in there, I find the easiest way is to run some screws in it first. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to find the M3 screws that I think are going to work for this. I bet it's going to be these because there's only 5 of these things. Booster FPV. When I'm doing my live, am I using a laptop or desktop? This is a laptop right now. In my studio, I only have a laptop for doing this stuff because my desktop is inside where I do all the editing. But what's up, Mystery? Says he also bought the Grinderino and it's just laying around. Sad thing is I might have to sell it since it's kind of impossible getting it under 250 with Walksnail VTX, which is exactly what I'm doing for my build. So you know, Mystery. I'm going to shoot for it. I'm going to try really hard to get it under 250. I have spent a lot of time thinking about how I'm going to make that happen, and I hope what I think I'm going to do will work. We shall see. All right, so the first thing I'm doing is putting the middle screw in with the keyway. So I've got my first screw right in the middle, and I've got the keyway sandwiched in there already between the 2 plates. Because what I'm actually going to do first is put screws in all of the arms, like that, with the keyway in the middle. That way it holds the distance for me, and I can wiggle these screws into place. Booster, what's a better laptop or desktop to do lives? The important thing when you're live streaming is going to be, well, okay, there's 2 ways to look at it. It depends on how you're going to encode it. This particular laptop that I have in front of me now is an Intel Core i9 13900K, so a very high-end processor. And it has an RTX 4070 graphics card in it. So I can encode my stream with GPU. If you can afford a laptop that lets you encode with GPU resources, it will be better for sure all the way around. You definitely want to encode with GPU as much as you possibly can. I pressed a button. I told you there'd be technical difficulties. If you can't get one with a GPU, get as much CPU as you possibly can and encode with CPU. But you're going to want high-end CPU, high-end GPU, and a lot of memory if you don't want stutters in your streams. So, a little one-on-one, 250. What is that? We don't speak of this abomination. Yeah. Mystery. Spent all day making a whole list. Might be possible with HV bats, no 3D prints, and AIO and stuff. If you manage to keep it under 250, I'll cancel my eBay sell and continue building it. Okay. What's up, Morton Upshot? No bacon suit. That's true. Yeah, a little one-on-one, and the Wi-Fi dropped. Google has failed me. It wasn't the Wi-Fi. It was this button on the side of my mouse that is apparently attached to the back button in my browser, and I am streaming with the browser. So yeah, it just shut it right off. Who'd have known? Who'd have thought? Not me. All right. So apparently for these arms, you will not be using the short screws. You'll be using these long boys. They look like stack screws, but apparently they are going to be arm screws, so I can have standoffs. Fun per volt. It said press the tiny button, not the button that says tiny. Yeah. I pressed the tiny button that says tiny. All right. Let's get this arm screwed in and see if my standoffs are going to be right. But don't use these screws, you said? At all? Because the standoffs for this are going to be the shorties. It's going to be awful close with the plate on top. It looks like that'll work. It's just going to be super long. Word upshot, we are indeed building a Grinderino. We are indeed. There should be screws which fit perfectly. Well, apparently there's not screws that fit perfectly. That's a good sign, huh? I have all of the screws out. Maybe I missed something in my package. I did not. So what I have screws of this length. Well, here, I have a desk camera. I have screws of this length and this length. If I use this length screw, it barely goes through the press nut. I go through the press nut and I have almost no meat left. So that means I can't put the standoff on top of it because there's no meat. The only other screws I have are M2s, M2 nuts, this one that came with, that was actually one for my center, and then little bitty ones. So I don't have anything in between at all. Yeah. I would think there would be other size ones too, mystery. It's a mystery which screws go here. Because, yeah, you're right. I put the standoff on, and no dice. It goes halfway through, and that's it. What's up, Monkey D? For what do I need the standoffs? Well, because to put the top plate on. I've got to have standoffs on to put the top plate on. You're supposed to put them on there. That's where they go. Oh, I see what you're saying. There's not standoffs on top of the press nuts. You're right. It's the pain pills, man. I'm telling you. I'm less greasy today than usual. Thanks, Mystery. You solved it. Yep. Yep, you're right. You're right. I'm wrong. This is why I did it on a live stream. I get to look stupid and you get to help me. That's the way it works. Jeremy Stone. I just watched Bot Grinder build this the other day, but didn't pay attention since I don't have one. I didn't watch him because I love Bot Grinder. I just never get time to watch any videos anymore. I'm either working or making videos, which is, you know, all I ever do. So watching videos has not been a thing I get to do very often. All right. That makes more sense. Thanks, Mystery. And so, Mystery, you were talking about doing it sub 250. I'll show you here in a second once I get these arms in what I'm going to put on the rest of it so you can kind of get an idea where I'm going with it. And see, like I said, there's no guarantee it's still going to be 250. But is a good likelihood that I can get it close. About the 3 style FPV frame. What is 3 style FPV? The screws do not have blue Loctite, and that's okay. I honestly never Loctite anything on any of my frames. ever. What I do is I tighten it sufficiently. So I give it one ugga-dugga and then another ugga-dugga. And then I go fly it about 4 packs. And then I tighten it again. And after about 3 rounds of that, there's enough tension holding the bolt that you don't need Loctite. Gen X. I'd rather watch Bacon build it. Seems more like if I bought it and did it myself. Yes, mistakes included. All right, Mystery. Let me see if I can find one that's already open here. This is what I'm going to do with mine. My plan is the Argus F7 Pro stack. So this is an AIO, and it's going to go in the middle hole. So this will go in the middle hole. On top of that, I have the Walk Snail. This is going to be the HD Pro, the 32 gig kit. So I'm going to use the 25 by 25 mounting along with the 25 by 25 mounting on this to stack them on top of each other. So the middle is going to contain everything. I'm going to have nothing in the back and just the camera in the front. For motors, I am doing the RCM Power, and let me open these. These are pretty. Yes, Morton, it is in the stream title. The Grinderinos are involved. That's the one I bought too, says Mystery. Same exact stuff. Yeah, we're going to see. We're going to see where we get. I'm going to do these 1506 RCM Powers. I'm doing them in 3000 kV on 6S. So we're going to see here. It might not be 250. My goal isn't that it must be, though. My light's changed. My light decides to go from purple to white every now and then on the side. So now you get to see me in a little bit brighter light. Yeah, Curtis says it is 6S. I'm going to go 6S on this one. Because why not? I already have a bunch of 6S packs. So I figured I'd use them on this too. All right. Desk camera. We've got the frame with arms and the correct size screws. So there's a bag that has your extra press nuts, which would go in the 20 by 20 holes if you're going to use a 20 by 20 stack. It also has the correct size screws for all of those holes. And it has this screw, which is a cap nut, a cap head screw that's supposed to go here. But if I put my M2 driver in this hole, it no worky. So I suspect it needs a bigger driver, and I don't have one on the bench. So make sure you have a bigger driver when you get ready. Anyway, so what everybody's telling me here is that standoff, 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 standoff. That's correct. That makes more sense. Yes. Is the AIO 2525? There might be a problem. Yeah, it is a 25 by 25. Yep. See, it fits right over that. And on the Walk Snail, you can use the holes that hold the wire protectors on as 25 by 25. So I'm going to use those holes and totally negate the 20 by 20 tapped holes that are on the Walk Snail. I may even grind them off, to be honest. Yeah, I'm going to put the AIO under the VTX. But there are 25 by 25 holes out here in the back and the front that are accessible. That's what that's for, is a 25 diamond stack right there. Routing the antenna properly. Valerta says the only problem I can think of is with the VTX and routing. Oop, I hit my camera with my foot. My bad knee hit the camera. Okay. With the VTX and routing the antenna properly, or if the antenna cable is too long, it could be, but I can put the VTX facing opposite because I have a lot of MIPI in the front, right? So I can do the MIPI around and under and back, and I can do the main antenna connection to back here around the front and back, and hopefully get a little bit less length. It shouldn't be short, though. The antenna cable shouldn't be short. Here, I'll get the antenna out. We have it. It shouldn't be too short in this frame. It's a pretty long dude when you look at it. Let's see. Yeah, so if I do it facing backward, I should be able to get it like that. Here, let's get the VTX out. Let's take the VTX out of the package. It's going to be hard to see because everything's black, but it should go like this. And see, I'm going to use those through holes on the walk snail where the nuts are on top of the Argus. Let's flip it around to where yeah, that's the antenna hole right there. So I should be able to come off that UFL and back to here, which should be fine. It'll just hang in there. So how will I mount the antenna? TPU, but probably minimal amounts of TPU. And I'm not going to be mounting an HD camera on top. It will just be the walk snail camera that I'm going to use. I'm going to record with the walk snail. No GoPro or anything else like that. Dinstar FPV, am I going to make a list of items, motors, and things? I am, but not in the description of this video. I'm going to make a whole series on building it. I'm just building the frame today so I can show everybody else how to build it. I'm making the mistakes live in front of you. Curtis Hayes, yes, I do have a 3D printer. They come in very, very handy. I recommend that if you have the ability to get one, if you fly FPV, you own one. Never a bad idea. Yeah, Smags FPV, there will be a build list. I'm going to do a whole video series on this one because I think that showing people how to build fun 3.5-inch quads is a good idea right now. And I think we're going to see a lot more fun 3.5-inch quads. So I definitely want to show people how to do that. Yeah, Morton Upshot, not a whole lot of room for strain relief. That is very true. But once I get it all together, I'll figure it out. I may have to alternatively mount that walk snail antenna. It's possible. I may have to. And if I do, I'll show everybody how I do it. Whatever I wind up doing with it, I will show everybody. But I'm going to try a bunch of different things. You know, normally in FPV, your plans don't go perfect the first time. Man, that standoff really does not want to go. They don't want to go at all. Mystery. Had the opportunity yesterday to compare the image of DJI Goggles V1 and the walk snail goggles. I noticed the DJI's image is way bigger and maybe more immersive. It absolutely is. The walk snail goggles FOV is significantly smaller. Yes, the walk snail goggles FOV is significantly smaller than the DJI goggles. That is no lie. But what I'll say is DJI's compression is still much better. So DJI's engineering when it comes to how they're compressing the video and getting the artifacts out of it during transmission is still much better than walk snail. Of course, I am very much a proponent of the walk snail system. They will get it. It's just going to take more time. DJI didn't get it right at first either. It took them a while. So walk snail will get there. They're just trying to catch up on like 4 or 5 years of DJI being ahead of them. So Curtis Hayes, I have 2 Prusa, but selling to go DJI. I mean, Bamboo Labs. You have 2 Bamboo Labs printers? I wrote Bamboo Labs the other day to see if they would let me use one of their printers for a video series. They have thus far ignored my emails. What's up, Vampire? Long time no see, buddy. I haven't done a live stream in a long time. I really need to get back into it. Like, I don't know. I imagine right now my audio sounds terrible. My video is probably buffering to death because of all the technical things I haven't worked out about this studio yet. But I need to get back into doing this. I really enjoy hanging out with you guys. Morton Upshot, do we have any leaks? What Caddx is doing in October? No. I don't have any leaks because I don't have any of the product. I have not been told anything by Caddx. So I'm sure someone has. It's not me. Caddx has sent me stuff before. I have done reviews for them. But this is not something they have sent me. And there we go. We built the Grinderino frame. Not too hard. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. All right. I'm not going to put the top plate on. I'm going to switch over to the desk cam for a second. Vampire. I got an email, but it was like super secret. I didn't even get an email. Dang, Vampire. Yeah, mystery. I wonder if it would be just software updates. Why will you use walk snail for the build if freestyle, a bigger image, is cooler? Maybe. For me, it's not. I'm not a huge fan of the image being bigger. I'm just not one of those pilots. All right. I'd like to be able to see all of it in one shot. All right. I'm trying to determine now how much room I'm going to have in here. That's where I'm trying to get. And it's not going to be a lot. So I may have to do some creative decasing to get all this together. And if I do this like this, you can see where the problem lies. Because you can't really have the walk snail back here with this in the front. I mean, maybe. Just barely. It's definitely going to hit something, though. And you can't mount that in a 25 by 25 because the motor pads are made to come out in the diagonals. So, 3D Create, definitely digital for this one. I'm going to go digital. Yeah, I think we're going to have a problem. I may have to do this number. I don't like it. I don't like that this is so close to that. But it is. It is what it is. I guess I could do a lower power VTX, but I don't want to. And my problem is really this press nut here takes up too much extra space. If I didn't take up that space with the press nut, then I could get this further down. It doesn't fit any better that way either. Raise the AIO up and put the MIPI cable under it. You're talking about like this. The problem is that it's hard to see. That's the hole for the 25 by 25 right there. Okay, so you see that hole. If I put this over the 20 by 20 mounting, the MIPI goes literally right over it. So yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure what I'm going to do there. Yeah. 3D Create. Currently, the Walksnail Pro cam is the absolute best low light night vision cam. Very true. This has the Sony Starvis sensor, which is what Gen X is saying. The Sony sensor in here is a very nice super low light sensor. It is not the only camera ever to have the Sony Starvis in it, or Starviz. It's not Starvis. It's technically Starviz. A lot of like the Polar Pro for DJI, same sensor, because Caddx made that camera too. They really just rebranded it and put the right chip in there for Walksnail. Called it something else. But it's a very good sensor. Vampire. So use 3 screws. I could use 3 screws. I could. It'll fly. It'll fly? Maybe. It might rip itself apart. But what about the HG0 1 watt V2 VTX? I have one. It's not at my bench though. It's all the way across the room over there. And if I go get it now, I won't be back for 15 minutes because I cannot walk. Yeah, Gen X. Nothing wrong with HG0 if that's what you like. Great for racing. It is great for racing. And for the kind of freestyle I do, HG0 is actually really, really good. If I could have the perfect video system, I would have the image quality of DJI O3 with the latency and smoothness of HG0 with the built-in recording of Walksnail. And I would be super happy. Super happy. I wouldn't even necessarily need an SD card. Just having 32 gigs on this VTX is plenty for me. I love that they did that. Warden Upshot, is the snail too thick to mount above the AIO? Yes. So my problem is, and you might be able to see better if I stack it like this. I know I obviously don't have any screws in here. All right, so this is the sandwich, right? That's the AIO, obviously the pink thing, and then the VTX. It literally bumps the top plate, unfortunately, because I'm taking up this other millimeter with the press nut here. And there's really not a way to do that any better. Now, the screw for the press nut is a little bit long, so I may try to put a shorter screw in it. And I might be able to get a 0.5 millimeter back and make it work, but then I still got to use a battery strap in that spot, and I don't know I'll be able to. Mister, you could use a higher top plate if you have longer standoffs. I could. This thing is, it's pretty narrow. You don't have a lot of room. That's the problem with a split deck, is you lose out on a lot of height versus a school bus style. But, and since this is right here, and I know that Mystery was asking earlier, Gen X, you can get full potential of the Walksnail VRX with the HD0 goggles. True. And I actually have HD0 goggles finally coming to me this week. Oh, let me roll back here, because I can roll without getting up. Ugh, hurts to drag my bad leg back to where I go. Okay. Yeah, I have HD0 goggles finally. I saved up for 8 months to be able to do it, but I finally worked with Carl and got it done. And yeah, so you can get the 100 FPS mode, you can get the OLEDs, you get the same field of view as the walk snail goggles. The only thing is the antennas on the VRX are a little less flexible because you got two built in, but you kind of do in the goggles too. Yeah, it's really not any different. So yeah, you can get the full potential. Now, if they do a V2 of the goggles that has a whole bunch of different features that the V1 doesn't have, we might see a difference. And 3D create, except 10 milliseconds more latency over HDMI. Sorta. It depends on the test. Sorta. But if you want to look at it, the walk snail goggles, right? So you have the goggles compared to the HD0 goggles. The HD0 goggles, they drive the OLEDs with the same chipset that is receiving the HD0 signal. So there's no buffering between the HD0 chipset and the OLED drivers. It's being driven by the same thing. In something like the DJI goggles and the walk snail goggles, that is not the case. The walk snail chipset is not driving the OLEDs. It is buffering the image to send to an OLED driver. Then the OLED driver is presenting it as a full frame. So technically over HDMI, you're doing the exact same thing. You are buffering it into an HDMI transmission. The HDMI transmission is going into the OLED driver, kind of the same thing. So it's not always that you get more latency over HDMI with those systems. But with HD0, you absolutely do get more latency over HDMI. Yeah. All right. So Mystery was asking earlier about the Grinderino versus the Siren F3. So this is the Grinderino frame. This is the Siren F3. Now this obviously is fully built, but I have the O3 Air Unit in it. I have a Skystars F7 with a 40 or a 55 amp ESC in there. And it's all crammed in there. It is a very, very tight, hard to do build. So hard that I had to put the cap on the pigtail, which I hate doing. But yeah, this is the format of it. So here's your Grinderino. It is roughly the same size. Roughly. The Grinderino is a little bit more of a true X than the Siren is, but roughly the same size. As far as deck height, they are roughly the same deck height too. So building in them is going to be very similar. The difference is going to be on the Siren F3 split, the top plate is very narrow. So things tend to stick out the side pretty easy. Where in the Grinderino, the top plate is not so narrow. So, you know, take what you will there. Another thing, the F3 split has standoffs behind the stack and in front of the stack. So the difficulty with the cap is that I can't put it behind the stack before the VTX, right? So I had to put it there. With the Grinderino, since you corrected me and gave me the right information, there's no standoffs here. So you can actually get a lot more done. Whether that's something you care about or not, totally up to you. You might not care about putting your cap on the lead, or you might be able to cram it in there. I tried to cram it in there. I rebuilt this 3 times. Now I don't have it crammed in there. I'll tell you, it was not easy. All right, 3D Create. Yeah, I fly a pair. I fly walk snail on a pair of HD3s. Freaking love it, even with a quarter of the pixels. Yeah, I like walk snail on my Sky Zones, but I have Sky Zone 04Ls. So the LCOS is not nearly as good as OLED, and I'm often reminded when I fly OLED goggles. Plus, my 04Ls are starting to, like, when it gets hot out, I don't know what it is about LCOS. It's liquid crystal on silicon. When it gets hot, it washes all the color out. So after about an hour of being outside in the heat, my screens are just white. I don't get any color anymore. So, what's up, Chow? Chow in the house. All right, so we have problems. And like I was saying earlier, we haven't yet discussed the actual problem. So you remember when we put the arms on? Let me take an arm off. Let me take an arm off because there is an actual problem. This is not designed to be used the way I'm using it, even though it has the holes for it. This is the arm, correct? It has a notch. It has a hole. This is the bottom plate. It has a hole. It has a hole. The top plate has one press nut and a hole. So when I put this in here and I put my one screw back, that means that I am only holding this arm by the hole. I'm holding it by the hole, and the keyway is keeping it from vibrating, right? Because there's a square block in there keeping it from vibrating. But that slot is supposed to also apply pressure. It's making the assumption that if you run a 20 by 20 stack, you're going to put the press nuts in the 20 by 20 holes and run your long stack screws for your 20 by 20 stack through those press nuts. However, if you are running a 25 by 25 stack, you're not going to use those holes because you're using these. So you're not going to run M3 screws that stick up 20 millimeters through those press nuts. So you're not going to sandwich your arms appropriately. And that means that potentially you are going to have these things wiggle and wobble as soon as the keyway starts to wear. And the keyway will wear. So it might fly fine for 6 months. And then the keyway wears. And then you're only holding the arm on with one screw. It's kind of a problem. That's the problem I was talking about earlier. So I'm going to have to put the press nuts in here. I'm going to take this apart again. But I'm not going to do it right now because I want to show everybody when I do the video of how to build this for the build series to put the press nuts in there and what screws they're going to need to hold it down, because it does not come with enough screws to put the press nuts in here and not use the stack screws to hold them. So Curtis Hayes, I got the cap in my Siren F3 split with an O3, but I killed my O3 in a hard landing. Probably not related, but it did fit. I had mine in there too. The problem is with mine, I don't know what stack you were running. What stack were you running? Mine has a really long ESC because I have a 55 amp ESC in here for my 6S because I'm doing stupid things with it. So my mains pads are literally right where the standoffs are. So having the cap in there meant that I had to squish it between the top plate and the top of my mains leads, which is fine, except it started to press on my ESC and it made my ESC crooked, which then started to press on my FC. It made my FC crooked. And then it caused vibration issues and twitching in my flight controller. Yeah. Vampire, the arms are rigid with only one screw. It's the same with the Demibot. They are. You're right. They are absolutely rigid, Vampire. They're not going to go anywhere right now. But as soon as I start wearing the keyway or wearing the tips of the arms from crashes, that will not be the case. As soon as I start deforming that from, hitting this into a brick wall a few times and I start to deform the tip of my arm, that keyway is not going to make good contact. And then my arm's going to start to slightly wobble. And it might not be enough to physically see it move, but even just a little bit of movement will be a problem. Now, if I was doing a 20 by 20 stack, it wouldn't be at all because that screw would go through that hole into that press nut and it would just hold it tight. But since that's not there, I'm pivoting it on one pivot point. Yeah, Chow, I got a buddy that just built one, and after 2 weeks, he has playing the arms. Did he do a 20 by 20 stack, Chow, or do you know? Curtis Hayes says, same stack. You got that same thing in there with the cap? Brave. Real brave, man. Now, I did that on my first iteration of this build. I had the cap inside of it, but I didn't like that it just forced too much vibration into my flight controller. I didn't like it, so I took it and put it out here. I just didn't feel comfortable with that being right behind my flight controller. I like it to have more room. Vampire, yeah. Vampire has a 20 by 20 in his. And with a 20 by 20, it's perfect because you put the press nuts in and you run those screws through it, and the arms can't go anywhere. And that's exactly what it's designed for. But since it has the option for 25 by 25, what I'd like to see is they sent me the press nuts, right? For 20 by 20, but then they make me use the stack screws. It needs to come with 4 more of the screws for the arms for someone who wants to use a 25 by 25, but still be able to put 2 screws in each arm if they use the press nuts. So the press nut should be installed, and I should get 4 more screws so that I can do that without having to use the stack screws, and then it'd be perfectly fine. Yeah, Chow, 30 by 30. He's running a Reaper plus SpeedyBee F7 in this frame. He's running a 30 by 30 SpeedyBee F7 in this frame. That's adventurous. I mean, you can. I assume that, well, no, wait a minute. That's 20 by 20. Is that 30 by 30 mounting out at the ends of the arms? Surely that's not 30 by 30 mounting. I don't have a 30 by 30 stack over here. Surely it's not. It can't be, right? Izzy Chow, you tell me. But yeah, it's a beautiful frame and really well cut. The carbon looks great. Oh my God does a great job on that stuff. You can definitely tell that it was styled by bot, and a lot of, you know, design decisions were influenced by bot style. 5-inch. Okay. 5-inch. Yeah, Curtis Hayes. I posted a picture in the main hangout on my Discord. Let's see. Let's see what Curtis Hayes said in the main hangout. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Yeah, okay. So you don't have an O3 in there, man. This is the picture that he's showing, right? So there, he got his cap in. He got his cap in there, right there. But that's a different VTX. Is that that's not what the O3 in? Right? Mystery. A friend of mine said the difference between DJI and Walksnail V2 isn't really noticeable. Is that true? So they can both achieve very, very similar results. The DJI, the old DJI system, now exclude O3, but the Vista system, very similar to how Walksnail flies and feels and looks. The difference is when you start to get into degraded conditions with Walksnail, you start to get more blur and more artifacting, and you lose more detail than you do with the V2 system. And that really just comes down to Walksnail having to learn how to do that, because DJI has had engineers that have been doing that forever, and they pay them a ton of money and they get it right because they've done it before, and they've done it a bunch of times in a bunch of different ways, and they know about RF really, really well. Walksnail just has to learn those things, and they will, and they're getting much, much better at it. If you picked them up today and you looked at them side by side, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference unless you spent a lot of time with one or the other prior. If you just never had seen either before and you put both on, other than the field of view, because the DJI goggles will have a bigger field of view and feel bigger. Other than that, the image quality, you're not going to feel the difference if you've never seen either. But if you spend a lot of time with DJI and then you go to Walksnail, you are likely to notice some differences. Vice versa, if you spend a lot of time with Walksnail and then you go to DJI, you're going to notice some differences. But at the end of the day, it's like maybe 10% different. So it's not a deal breaker. It's not like no one should ever fly Walksnail because DJI exists. That's not the case at all. All right. Saggy balls. I asked about the extra screws when using 25 by 25 and was told it was designed to use only one screw in each arm. Correct. I don't like it. I don't like that. I love bot grinder. I don't like that. I am not going to do that, saggy balls. I'm going to put the freaking press nuts in there, and I'm going to find 4 screws to fit. And I'm going to have 2 screws in each arm, even though I'm not running a 20 by 20. I can tell you that will be my case. More than upshot. I have the Demibot 5-inch with a 30 by 30, but that would be a huge board in this frame. It absolutely would. I'm like, well, and Chow said it was a 5-inch, because I'm like, you put a 30 by 30 in this, and there's not much quad left for anything else. Pretty crazy. Curtis Hayes, I posted my YouTube video of the build. It shows an O3 in there. Okay, I'll have to check it out, man. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, I put my O3 in with the cap the first time. It was really hard. It was really hard and didn't leave a lot of room, and it just wasn't comfortable for me to fly the flight controller like that. And I did start getting some ticks over time in the flight controller, and I couldn't decide if it was a dying gyro or if I'm hitting the cap or something back there because there's no room. So I pulled it out, and now I don't have those ticks. You know, just saying, if you develop a problem down the road, it could be because there's not enough room for the FC to move in there. Mystery, 48 viewers in streaming live, 48 minutes. A viewer a minute. Now it's 47. That immediately ran somebody off. Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper. I'm going to sleep, bro. Later all. See you later, man. Glad you could stop by. I thought about you when I scheduled it for this time. I was hoping this would be a time you could catch it. I'm glad you're here, buddy. Lambo drives Zambo. That was funny. You said 10% and my signal lagged right on that frame for a couple seconds. Yeah, that's because I'm streaming over Wi-Fi. I don't know, what is it? 200, 300 feet from the main access point. Because it's all I have right now. Yeah. Saggy balls, same here. I'd want 2 screws per arm too. It's going to be 2 screws per arm for this. I don't have my screws either. And again, if I get up and walk, I'll probably like cry, and I don't want to cry on camera. I'd rather cry and quit. I'm sorry. It's just not something I'm going to share with you. My salty tears. No thanks. I learned that some butterflies, this is going to be totally off topic. Some butterflies make animals cry to drink their tears. It's like a protein shake for them. And it made me think, that's pretty cold. Butterflies are cold creatures. But then it made me wonder, do I want to drink other people's tears? I might. I don't know. Are they greasy? Yeah. Cartman butterfly, says Monkey D. Is that what it is? Cartman butterflies? I know there's a kind. I don't know the. It's definitely not something I was prepared to learn about. When I was sitting on the couch stranded yesterday because I couldn't go anywhere, I was watching science TV, and it talked about butterflies that make crocodiles cry or alligators and then drink their tears. And you know how big of balls you got to have to drink alligator tears? That's pretty crazy for a butterfly. Respect. I respect that butterfly. Curtis says, when are you pulling some Cat 6? That's exactly what's going to happen. Actually, no, it's not going to be Cat 6. I'm going to pull fiber because I can do that. I have everything to do that. So I'm going to pull fiber from the house over to here. It just doesn't exist yet, but it's going to happen. And then I'm going to pull 10 gig fiber from the house to here. And then I might do a QSFP so I can split off 4 connections. I really do need it, though. Of course, at the moment, it looks like it's going to be about 3 months till I can climb a ladder. So I don't know if I need surgery yet. I'm going to have to go see a doctor and get an MRI next week and determine if my knee is going to require being put back together manually. Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? All right. I guess I'm going to put the top plate on this Demibot. I keep saying Demibot. Grinderino. I'm sorry, Bot Grinder. Don't hit me. You're cool, buddy. Yeah. Put some top plate screws in. Switch to my desk cam. You can see it. More than upshot. Injury or age? Both. Both. Stupidity mostly. I've been moving out of my old house still so that I can give it back. It was a rental. So I'm cleaning everything out of it, right? Yesterday I went over and I picked up some stuff. And in my garage, there is a bunch of leaves and dirt that have blown in. So I slipped on it. And my leg went totally sideways. Like it spun. My foot spun totally. And then I flipped over on top of it. So my foot was literally facing backwards for a minute. Heard a giant pop. It hurt like hell. And then I fell on the ground and passed out. And then when I woke up, it still hurt. And I crawled to the nearest chair where I nearly passed out some more. There's something wrong with this standoff. Seems cross-threaded. Gonna have to do that one manually. I don't know why that's cross-threaded. I don't like that. But anyway, Morton, yep. I definitely popped. I know exactly what happened. And now it's swollen and I can't move it. And every time I touch it, I want to scream. So definitely an ACL tear. It hurts on the outside, right where an ACL tear would. I just need an MRI to confirm that suspicion. All right. We have a full Grinderino. Only halfway into the stream. I should have done it a whole lot slower. Now let's see. Can we get this to go? It's cross-threaded. But the standoff's cross-threaded, not the screw. So we're going to tap it. We're going to re-tap it with a screw here. Yeah. There we go. Because that's what you're supposed to do when it doesn't fit. Yeah. Yeah, Chow. He asked if the studio is a guest house or a garage. The garage is this wall right here behind me is the shared wall with the garage. This is a open space next to it that has a bathroom. That door is a bathroom. And it just, I guess it was like a little guest area or a workshop that they had. I don't know. But it's all the way outside. So to come outside is like 8 steps. And I haven't been able to do steps. Luckily, there's railing. So I like jumped on the railing till I got down to the bottom. And then, used a chair to crawl out here. Yeah. Moo pluck. That's exactly what my ACL felt like when I ripped it. Partial ripped left ACL. And mine's on the left too. And like I said, I slipped, right? And that's my foot. Well, this is my foot. And it went this way, right? Real hard. And my leg was straight, but my foot went this way and took the whole calf with it. And then when I fell over it. So my foot continued to move backwards. And yeah, it sounded like a gunshot, the pop. I was surprised. I was with my father-in-law at the other house. I'm surprised he didn't hear it all the way inside the house. It was super loud. But Iceface FPV, what's up? Ligma FPV, I broke my frenulum. What is a frenulum? Please define a frenulum. I'm not familiar with that particular part of the human anatomy. Chow FPV, so like a really spacious outhouse. Yes, there's no air conditioning either. Luckily, it's only 80 degrees out today. And I have a window open over there, and I'm starting to sweat because I have 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights on me all the time. And you don't hear the pigs. The pigs are asleep somewhere. They're right outside too, and they normally are grunting about. So luckily, the pigs aren't being noisy right now. Ligma. It just hurts. You don't want to know anymore. I'll take your word for it that I don't want to know anymore. I can only imagine, if you're saying it that way, where that particular piece is located. All right, I'm just going to tighten all these up for posterity because it's going to come apart again. I'm going to take this apart for a video, and then I'm going to do a whole video on how to build it and pointers on building it after I start to get the stack in. I want to get the stack partly assembled before I give anybody any tips on how to assemble something. You know, I always think it's important to have done it yourself a few times before you give any pointers. So this is the first time, and there will be a few more times. But that series is going to be really cool. I think it's going to be at least 4 videos, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. I'm going to put the motors on it just because they're pretty. The motors are so pretty. I want to put them on here. Iceface FPV. It's my new name. I like it. It reminds me. So when I say Iceface, it reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy's Taserface. Just saying. I see that guy in my head when I say it. Saggy balls. Pigs. You move in with Old McDonald? No, I live with my wife, who apparently is Old McDonald. She wanted pigs, and she found a person who was giving pigs away. So now we are the proud owners of 2 Juliana pigs that live in my backyard until I build a pen, which before I went to the house yesterday and broke myself, I went and picked up stuff to build the pig pen, and now I cannot build the pig pen. So they're going to continue to live in my backyard. But they're Juliana mini pigs. So they're not like, you know, they're not like pigs you raise to eat. They are pigs you raise to make pets. And then other people can make them pets as well. So they're definitely going to have babies. We're going to have lots of little piglets. Have you introduced the pigs to any micros yet? Ligma says. No, I have not. I have not. I was planning on flying today. Today's fly day. It's Sunday. But being that I can't get to my charger, I have not. I was planning on doing it, though. I might get brave enough to walk to my charger later and see if I can dig it out and carry it across the house. Because I can't charge it in my garage here. It's too far from the house. It's not safe. So it's in my house, and I have to drag it from the hallway to the living room to charge. Maybe. Morton Upshot. Bacon on the hoof or friends who can be bacon? They're just friends. They're friends that smell like bacon. We'll put it that way. They aren't stinky at all. You know, if you've never had pigs, they're not really nasty unless you feed them nasty things, and then they are nasty. But generally, the pigs themselves don't smell. It's when you don't clean up after them or you feed them slop that they start to smell. And they're very smart. They already follow my kids around. They know who feeds them. Gen X pigs are cool. They're neat and clean and protect our city. I get it now. And protect our city. Mystery. Is there a way to access the live stream after it ended? I think I'll take this as a reference from building my own. Yes, there will be a VOD of this live stream. YouTube normally takes a little while to do that, but there will be a VOD in post. And also, I'm going to make a video that's specifically about how to build this as the first video in a series about a build using this ring. So if for some reason you can't find it, I think it's going to take me another week or so to put out a video on how to build this, but there will be one. So that'll have all the tips and tricks I learned after trying to put the stack in, because I'm going to put the stack in before I should do the build video, so that I can give everybody pointers about what they should and shouldn't do during the build if they're using particular stacks. Yeah. Mystery, are you going to solder in this live stream? Well, I could, but I can't get to my solder. I could, but I cannot get there from here. Where did those screws go? I swear there was a pack of screws that came with the motors. I just had them. I've lost them. They've disappeared. Ah, no. They're in the bottom of the box. I'm telling you, pain pills, man. They're getting me. Mystery, we only eat bacon here. I feed bacon. No, we made some, yesterday, we made pork chops on the grill outside. The pigs watched. So, yeah, that's pretty weird, but they liked it. They smelled it. They wanted to eat some of it. I'm just putting these on because I want to see how well they fit and what they look like. I went with this stator size because I like my stators to be a little taller. This is a 1506. So it's got a little bit more stator size than a 1404, obviously. I think it said it has more stator size than a 1604, which would be the next size up that I would have got from T-Motor. But, get in there. I don't have it quite lined up. There it goes. Got to have it lined up with the hole or it doesn't go in. Little one-on-one. Rule number 1, you have to be high when you build the quad. I am. On pain pills. That's the only way I could get down here. Ligma. What is the most durable 2207, 2306-ish motor that I have used? If you want my honest opinion on that, it's going to be disappointing because they're not fancy. Xing motors. I have broken fewer Xing motors than any other motor I have ever run because it's a Unibel. Now, not everybody's a fan of Unibel for durability, but I am. And these are clearly Unibels too. RC and power motors, they are also very durable. The downside to an RC and power motor is that they are also very expensive. So durability and expense are nice, but when it comes straight down to it, if you break it and it's going to cost you a ton to fix, even if it's super durable, you're going to break it. It just comes down to how often. So the Xings, you're not going to break very often, and they're not terribly expensive to replace. The RC and powers, you're going to break just as often as the Xings, but it's going to cost you more when you do. So, yeah, Ligma, the Xing 2 is good. Actually, Xing 1s are good too. I have a few of them on my wall still. Yeah, like right here. This was my freestyle build for a long time that I ran daily. These are my 2208s. Just regular Xing, not Xing 2. I have crashed this quad 300-400 times. Never put another motor on it. And not just into trees and grass. But your experience is going to vary. It all depends on how you fly and where you fly. But same experience, Chow. Is you talking about the Xings, buddy? Or what? Are you agreeing with my Xing recommendation? Crash and burn, putting pork chops on the grill in front of the pigs. Hey man, they tried to lick the spatula. It's not my fault. They are cannibals. That's the word I'm looking for. Took me a minute. I'm slow, man. Oh look, there's a pig outside the door. He's wobbling around out there. Greg's toe live, and depends on how you crash. Absolutely. It's so hard. Like people give recommendations for stuff in FPV, and they always give the recommendation based on their experience, because how else can you do it, really? And when it comes to scientific testing of those things, I mean, I've yet to see someone take a motor on a quad simulant that is an exact amount of weight and then smack it up against a brick wall at the exact same speed 100 times to see how it holds up. That's just not a test anyone has done. So you can look at the materials and you can kind of relatively figure out the physics of it. But when it comes down to it, it's all about the experience of the person who's giving you the recommendation, and it's going to be different than yours. So take every recommendation with a grain of salt. That's pretty big. But I will tell you, in my experience, the Xing 2s have done really well for me. So Chow says, Xing were more durable. I fly almost exclusively RC and power, though. And they aren't as durable. More expensive, hard to get spare bells, expensive AF. They are, but they're so pretty, man. Look at these things are beautiful. Look how pretty these pink motors are here. That's going to be a pretty quad. And I'm going to have the pink stack in here because it's the Argus. So it's going to be all pinked out, man. I don't know what it is lately. I am super into the pink and teal combo. Just my thing, I guess. Ligma FPV. If anyone's trying to avoid fragile motors, do not buy newbie drone smooth V2 motors. Tiny little 2mm spokes that snap if you sneeze on them. That is the problem with spoked motors. Absolutely. Ah, did that just strip? Did this just strip my motor out? Oh, I'll be so mad. I'll be so mad if this screw just stripped out in my new motors. What's up, Mystic Squash? Aqualine FPV, bright, easy to find after crashes. Exactly. Bright colors, man. Gotta have the bright colors. Almost got the motors on here, maybe. If this one didn't just totally... I think it stripped that hole. That's upsetting. Especially when you pay so much for a motor. And these are the included screws that it came with. Ugh. That is disappointing completely. Okay, last motor. Maybe this one won't strip a hole. Mystic Squash pink and teal is pretty hot. It is. I really like it as a combo. And Ligma, I love that RCM power color scheme. Yeah, I did that on my get another quad off the wall. Because they're all right here. Yeah, so I have the teal ones on this one with pink TPU. But this time I decided to go pink with teal because the stack is going to be pink. But I really pink and tealed this one out. This is, by the way, my favorite quad at the moment for 5-inch. F5 Mini split. I think Chow is running one of those too, but he's had other problems. So, you know, different things. Saggy balls. Only motors looking nicer than the teal pink RC and power are the pink slat motors. Pink slat motors do look nice. I've not owned a set of them just because I don't know. I'm not a fan of taking a motor and putting a person's name on it and making it a different motor. I'm not going to pay for that anyway. If you do, that's perfectly fine. It's just not something I want to do. And you won't ever see Bacon Ninja motors that aren't made by Bacon Ninja. Has a sponsorship deal with another manufacturer. Not going to happen. 3D Create. I run a Freshman similar to a Demibot. The Freshman is a good frame. Crafted Quad knows what he's doing. I have not been able to build one yet. I keep saying to Crafted Quads he should send me one, and I will gladly build a quad on it and show everybody how it flies. But he's so busy. Ligma FPV. Do you think DJI will release a new air unit with new goggles and an Avanox drone? I think I saw something about that, but I don't remember what I read. I don't know. I think it's pretty soon for them to release a new system. I also feel like the economic climate with exporting whole drones from China right now is a little rough. So I don't know that they would want to spend the market resources to do that right now. If things hadn't changed over the past 6 months in the way that they have, maybe. But if I had to call it right now, again, I have no inside information from DJI or anybody else, I would say it'd be a really tough thing to try to do right now. All right. One more screw. Mystery T-Motor P1604 3800 kV are $11. Are they $11? I feel like I paid more than that, and I just put a set on. I feel like they were like $16 or $18, something like that. The LAN RC 1505 Plus, only $7, and I think they both perform the same. Which one would you recommend? I mean, you can never go wrong with a T-Motor motor. Don't get me wrong. I understand that they did the partnership thing, and they put a pilot's name on their motor and sold it as a different motor. Whatever, that's all good. But they make good motors. They do. It's split bell. I'm pretty sure those are all split bells. But in that size, it's not too big a deal. I was going to put the 1604s on this build, but did not because I wanted 1506s, more stator volume, a little bit taller, and I really wanted the full-size shaft on this build because this is going to be a basher build, and T-mount props are not super great. Of course, you only have a few variety of props that aren't T-mount in the size, and these are Gym Fan 3520s. That's really all that exists in 3-blade. There's a couple other ones, but they're all pretty low pitch. So we need more 3.5-inch props with full-size shafts. If anybody out there is a prop manufacturer, get on that. But 3D Create, yeah, college is a big time sink. It absolutely is. Hence why I didn't finish it. I went with my wife to college and did not get a degree because we had children and I ran a business at the time. Actually, I ran three businesses at the time, or I ran 2 and was involved in 3. So I didn't have time to be at school. Ciao, F5 Mini, definitely my favorite frame I've ever flown. Problems I've had with it have everything to do with the janky epoxy FCs. Did you get your new FC in, buddy? I know Chow was ordering a new FC. It's not in yet. Let me know how it goes once you get that mounted up and see if it's any better, though. Justin Kim, Bacon, thank you for the onesie motors. I'm working with a buddy who's new to FPV, and we're building his first quad together. That's awesome. I am glad that they went to some kind of use like that and that you're helping him out, man. And I am glad to hear that you got them because shipping has been a nightmare for the season of giving gifts. That whole first thing, the first batch of season of giving gifts, I'm still sending some of them out. My post office, after I moved, we're in a rural area. The post office keeps bringing packages back to my house after I ship them. And if they're international, I ship them, they bring it back to my house as if it was meant to be delivered to my house. Then we take them to the post office and they have the shipping label already paid for on them. And then they have no idea how to scan it into their system. So they make us buy a whole new shipping label and invalidate the first one. And so far, I've lost $200 in labels that I can't get refunded because they won't refund them on international labels. So it's been a bit of a nightmare. I'm going to have to start taking them to a completely different town to ship them because this town just can't seem to figure it out. Ligma FPV. Watch the Avanox be a micro digital FPV drone and DJI releases a 1S digital air unit. That would be killer. If DJI ever does a 1S air unit, I will be the first in line to talk about it. That would be awesome. I will buy it with all my money. I'll be like Fry and throw money at it. Greg's Tow Life. I just got the new T-Motor F60 VLV 1900 KV and hit 94 miles per hour. Did you hit 94 miles per hour, or was it more than that and you're just saying 94? Because I know that happens. There is a legal limit, and this is YouTube. We'll go with 94. And that was with a GoPro 7 on board. The fastest quad I've ever flown is the 7-inch that's up there that you can't really see. You can kind of see the blue tip of the prop right there. I won't say how fast that went on camera. Chow FB, nah, UPS failed to deliver, so come in tomorrow, I hope. I hope you get it, man. I hope that helps, because Chow has been fighting all kinds of problems with random oscillations at full throttle, all kinds of things that do not happen on my F5 mini split or anybody else's that I know that happens on his. So clearly a problem with his hardware. Yeah, but he's been fighting it for a long time. It's been really frustrating. So hopefully he gets that stack in and it works well. Gen X, if you already have HD0 or HD0 goggles, then you get the Walksnail VRX and it works now, avatar system, and you'll love it. HD0 or HDO, like Fat Shark HDO, or you mean HD0 goggles? That's the question. Saggy balls. DJI 1S digital air unit. Heads would literally explode. They would. If DJI did that, they'd be able to compete in so many places they can't right now, because I took it apart already. This Pavo Pico 03 was the closest I've ever come to having DJI on a micro. And it was okay. I flippity floppy to this. If you didn't watch the video that I did about it, I actually did a little bit of spang with it, and it was okay. It wasn't great at it. Definitely a cruiser. I did break the prop protectors in like 10 minutes. So it's heavy when you start putting a full-size air unit on things. Definitely heavy. Greg's Toe Life. What motors do you have on your fast 7-inch? Oh man, I can't see them, and I can't get up there. I can't reach that high right now. If I stand up, I'll cry. But they aren't actually that big. That 7-inch is it is a Darwin FPV. It's the Darwin FPV 7-inch, whatever that is. If you go look it up, it's the motors that are on it. I have not changed them. I just put bigger props on it, or not bigger, steeper props on it. And it went super fast. But I was flying at 50 degrees camera tilt with a 7-inch. That'll definitely get it done. But I don't recommend buying that quad very much at all. It crashed a lot because the frame is just full of resonance. The frame design is going to wobble and wiggle, and filtering it out is near impossible. Unless all you're doing is cruising and not ever pushing it real hard, it's not great for going real fast for real long and real accurately. But I did it because, I'm going to break crap. That's just what I'm going to do. Ligma FPV, was anyone here at Rotor Riot Rampage a few months ago? Anyone going next year? I want to go every year, but I can't go anywhere. Between my work and the kids and stuff, I can't ever go. But someday, when my son is old enough to go and fly his own quad at Rampage, I will take him as a father-son thing, and it will be amazing. But that's going to be like, he's 5, and he can fly. Don't get me wrong. Bacon can fly on his own right now. But he needs like 3 or 4 more years before he's really safe around a crowd of people. So maybe in 3 or 4 more years, I'll be able to take him. Yeah. Ricardo Fierro, any recent news about cheaper AT32 chip for FC? I haven't heard anything about the AT32 coming to it. I know that it would change some things. I'm sure we can support it. It's just going to be about, do the firmware devs want to rewrite code bases to support it, because it's pretty ingrained in the current ones. Now, the H series chip, we kind of started adding those whenever we were in the shortage of the F series chip, and they're still around for some uses. And we may find ourselves in the use case of using H series chips whenever we need more for beta flight than what we currently need as far as CPU cycle goes and flash. But I don't know on the AT32. I heard that it was a possibility, and then I never heard anything else. So I'm probably about in the same boat with information as you are there. All right. William Ines, I have an F3 split and 2 full-size F5 splits, and I love them all dearly. But I built an F5 mini split with Pacer 2207 2080 kV and a Skystars S7 mini stack, and it's quickly becoming my favorite quad. Where is it at? Where are you at, quad? That's this one. That's pretty much what I did here on this one, too. These are 2107 plus 2080 kVs, so I'm in the same kV zone as you. And then I did the Skystars S7 Mini with the 55 MPSC. But this one has a Vista in it, obviously, and a bungee cord hanging off of it. But yes, awesome quad. It is light, it is fast, it is agile, and when I run a bones on it, I don't weigh it down too much. So it stays that way. It's very nice. Can't see it over there. Important upshot. iFlight has one, but it needs to use a nightly build of beta flight for now. Well, that's nice to know. So it looks like they're trying then. If iFlight is putting out an AM30 or AT32, it's not AM32, that's a different thing. An AT32 flight controller, then maybe we'll get it standardized. If iFlight's willing to do it, maybe other manufacturers are. But a nightly build of beta flight, and that's kind of the same thing with the Argus. I can't run anything but nightlies on it. It's got beta flight 4.5. It came like that out of the box. So it's not even in release candidate yet, but it's on that flight controller. 3D Create. I think Neutron RC also has one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're right. That's where I remember hearing about. I didn't hear about the iFlight one, but I did hear about the Neutron RC one. And I just never saw any other manufacturers start to do it. So, but if iFlight is, then maybe we'll get it someday. All right. Let's see. Ligma FPV, what is your gold standard for a 5-inch freestyle frame? That is, that's a hard question. It depends on what you're doing with it, like everything else in FPV. If you were a person that likes to do spang and flippities and floppities and you fly in more open areas or you fly in areas that aren't bandos, I would recommend you the F5 Split Mini every time, as long as you're willing to work with a 20x20 stack. That's the limit on the F5 Split Mini is the 20x20 components. You're limited to the flight controllers and ESCs you can use. Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. If you're going to do something a little bit more adventurous, though, the tank is good. The Rotor Riot tank is good. The F5 Split itself is good. There may be more rugged frames out there than the F5 Split, but if you're somewhere in the middle between park flying and bando flying, maybe you're doing like office complexes or something like that, the F5 Split is probably a good shot for you. If you're going to lean all the way into the bando stuff, though, the Rotor Riot tank is good. Hell, I beat the crap out of my CL1s, which I think they've changed the name of those because the arms are so wide and thick. The thicker you can get an arm, the better you're going to be in those environments. But for most people, a Siren F5 or an F5 Split are going to be great choices. They're just going to be harder to build for most people than others. If you get a school bus style frame that doesn't have a split deck, it's way easier to build on. But if you're a fairly experienced builder, then a split deck is great. And those would be the two that I'd go for. For O3, and either of those support O3. I just happen to have a Vista in one. I have an O3 in the other. Masterio, my 3.5-inch drone desyncs only sometimes with 35 amp AIO GEP RC and 2004 3000 kV motors. Yes. Can't figure out. Went in a pool just the other day. Video is on my other channel, BirdFam FPV. Yeah, so 2004 3000 kV motors on 3.5 inches with a 35 amp AIO is going to be a limit. I put a 55 amp AIO in mine just because I didn't want desyncs ever. 3000 kV on 3.5 inch is kind of on the high end, honestly. If you want all the power output, though, it can handle it. You can totally push your props that hard, and most props will take it, but it is on the top end. So you're going to get desyncs. Some things you can do to help with that, you can set your DMAG compensation to high if you haven't done that already on the ESC. The 35 amp rating, you're probably not going to blow the ESC, but you're going to be hitting some limits of the ESC when you're up in the high end of the throttle. So DMAG compensation, you might consider doing a 90% motor output limit, just so you don't hit those super high numbers where the desync can be more likely. But at 2004 motors at 3000 kV with 3.5-inch props, you're definitely pushing the top end of the possibilities. So that's why I put a 55 amp in mine, so that I had a lot of headroom and wouldn't have to worry about it. But at a 35 amp, you're going to be lower in the band. So desyncs could be more likely. Board up shot. I don't crash because I don't try hard enough. Try harder. I want to see you crash. Crash more. Make me feel better about my crashes. 3D Create. I flew my freshman full throttle into a sign. It bent the pole. The sign was only about 10 degrees, barely. The sign was on by about 10 degrees. Barely a scratch. I did that with the Siren F, the mini split. I hit a light pole. I don't know if it's this. I think I've printed a new one since then. I hit a light pole with my camera. So I hit this arm and this motor. And then as it caught, it wrapped it around. And then I smacked this straight into a sharp spot on a light pole. Oh, it is in there. And I cut the whole top in half. I think I've fixed it since then, but I cut this whole thing up and destroyed a GoPro. And the frame's fine. The motor's fine too, actually, which I was surprised about. I did destroy 3 out of the 4 props. William NS, I like my Volador 2 VX5 for bashing. The Volador seems like a great bashing frame. It really does. The DemiBot is a great bashing frame just because Bot Grinder, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to bashing. DemiBot's always a good choice. Good carbon. Oh my God, makes good stuff. The Volador, it just has weight. The Volador is heavy. And the more weight and chunk you throw at something, the stiffer it's going to be. It will crash harder because it weighs more, but it's got enough weight to hold together. And I've heard a lot of that too. A lot of people like the Volador for bashing. It's not going to be your flippy floppy Spang quad though, because it's just too heavy of a platform to get that kind of precision thrust. But the Volador is pretty darn good for bashing. Saying Akif, I just got the Radiomaster Pocket and have been using for 3 days, but now I hear a squeaking noise from the throttle on the bottom of the throttle. Is there a way to fix this? Yes, there absolutely is. That squeaking noise, so I assume what you mean by I hear a squeaking noise on the bottom of the throttle is when you're toward the bottom, like the bottom half of the throttle when you've got it kind of at low, and you hear a squeak when you move it around. If I'm correct about that, then the way to fix that, if you take the back off of your Radiomaster Pocket, and yes, the radios are made to be taken apart. Radiomaster knows that you are going to do this at some point. There are some surfaces on the back of that throttle stick that are made of a hard plastic. Normally, it's hard plastic to hard plastic and a little bit of grease on there. Not a lot. You don't want to put a ton of grease in there, but a little bit of grease will... Sorry, I don't mean to cough on camera. A little bit of grease will take care of that. It may have even come with some grease. I don't know if the Pocket comes with any lubricant. Does anybody else have one to know if they do? But yeah, just get some good lithium-based lubricant and put it in there. They make special lubricant if you want to wait for it. You can order it from Radiomaster. That's just for lubing those stick pads. So pop the back open, lube it up, you'll be good to go. Like, I also turned a soccer goalpost into a slight V. How fast were you going? Okay, if you turned a soccer goalpost into a slight V, that was a badly made soccer goalpost. Then any like kick that hit it from playing soccer would have been to as well. Either that or you were flying like a 14-inch quad. But no, I'm not surprised that it took the hit. He does. Crafted Quads knows how to design a frame. William NS, no S-bang. Well, she's a thick girl. Man, I don't know why I'm coughing so much. I don't have a mute button set up. Yet another technical difficulty. I normally don't talk this much. That's probably why. Market Zero, micro apex 3-inch is pretty bomb-proof. 3-inch quads. I will get over this eventually. 3-inch quads are easier to make bomb-proof, for sure. The smaller the quad is, the easier it is to hold up in a crash. And the Apex is a good design. I have my Siren F3 split that I've crashed a bunch of times, never broke anything on it. And I mean, I have crashed it at least 65, 70 miles an hour into concrete and metal. And it's fine, just fine. I did just not destroy a motor, but I nearly destroyed one of the motors in that crash. But you know, the AOS 3.5, maybe. I'm not a huge fan of the AOS frames. I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm not over impressed with them. They do exactly what they say they do. They are great for resonance. But when it comes to the style of flight that I have and the kind of crashes that I get into, they're not for me. I think the 3.5 is a little bit better. The AOS 3.5 is okay. You've got the Siren F3. You've got the Apex 3. The QAVS, I think they have a 3.5-inch. I've never flown that one though. Anybody have a QAV 3.5-inch? I know some people that fly the 5-inch, but I don't know anybody who's done the 3. We're coming up on 3:30. I've been going for an hour and a half. I probably 30 more minutes, and we'll close the stream up. So if you guys got questions, more questions, I'm having a lot of fun reading them. We'll talk about anything. Doesn't even have to be FPV related. I've taken my knee pain painkillers, so I'm willing to talk about all of it. "3D Create. My 3-inch breaks like 10 times more than my 5-inch. That's most likely because I fly like a demon on that 3-inch. Yeah, like a good 3-inch really encourages you to beat the crap out of it. But I mean, like I said before, different experiences or different things. I have a lot less breakage on my 3-inch just because it weighs so much less, or my 3.5 inches because they weigh so much less. And I fly my 3.5s like identical to my 5 inches. Unless I tell you I'm flying a 3.5, if they both have DJI O3 and I'm using the onboard camera, you probably can't tell what I'm flying because I fly them exactly the same. So, given the style is the same, I break my 3.5 much, much less than my 5 inches. Ligma FPV, favorite music group, musical artist of all time. Of all time is really hard. I was influenced as a child. I say child, it was more like high school. It feels like back when I was a child. I was really into emo music. So the answers are going to be terrible. Right now, if I had to pick one thing that I could listen to forever and never anything else ever again, I would pick Panic at the Disco. Yeah, I'm 36 years old and I like Panic at the Disco. All right, Sour Sham, how is testing going on the HD0 VTX, the V2 VTX? It's going really well. I've read a lot of things from a lot of people about questions they have on it. So far, the things that I've seen and can confirm is that it does not come with a programming cable that is the right size for it. In fact, it doesn't come with a programming cable at all. You must have the micro programming cable. So if you don't have one, you need one. And I recommend you get the programmer from HD0 if you don't already have the micro cable, as programming it over USB with the specialized HD0 programmer is the best option. It does output more power on R1 than any other channel, but so did the V1. I haven't found it to be any different than the V1 in that a lot of people were surprised that on R1 it does a full watt and up on R8 it does the worst. And some people are saying like 500 milliwatts, but it always did that. The V1 had the same problem. So it's not a new thing. In fact, that happens a lot with every kind of VTX. It just depends on the VTX. Some of them are better at R8 than R1. This one just happens to be better at R1 than R8. But as far as range, penetration, all the other stuff that I expect, it's going really well. I have the HD0 goggles coming next week, and I'm going to get to test more of the modes. I want to try that VTX with 1080p 30. I want to try it with 540/90, but I don't have the goggles for it yet. I had to borrow goggles last time that I did those tests, so I don't have access to them anymore. But I really want to try those modes on it because I think it's going to excel at those too. It's gone really well. I wish the V1 had been the V2. The V2 should have been the first one that came out. They just weren't capable of doing it at the time. But it's a big leap forward, and it's like the same price as the V1 was when it came out. So I think it's great. I hope to see more of that. I'd really like another version of their 1S VTX. Take another look at that one with maybe the same kind of casing around it, but still keeping the weight down. If they could do that, I'd be really happy. But no, totally positive so far. I haven't found anything I didn't expect or that you probably haven't already read about on it. Let me scroll back a little bit. I missed some stuff. Greg's Toes Life. Oh, that's why you can't get up and would cry if you did. I was wondering why. What did I do to my knee? Yeah, I was telling everybody earlier, I slipped yesterday and twisted my knee nearly all the way around, heard a loud pop, and I have ripped my ACL. I don't know how bad my ACL tear is, but it is very painful. So I'm hobbling around, barely going anywhere right now. Saggy Balls. Is KISS something magical worth getting, or just stick with something on Betaflight like a blindfold test type situation? Could anyone tell the difference? There are people that will tell you that they can absolutely tell the difference in KISS, and they might not be wrong. It might entirely be possible. I have no personal experience with KISS. I would like to someday. The hardware is too unavailable for me to go after. If someone wanted to send me a bunch of KISS stuff to test next to Betaflight stuff, I'd be happy to. I have a whole quad built for being able to do that kind of thing too. But I don't have any experience with it. What I've heard from other people, though, is either they love KISS because it just works and is simpler for them. It just works. They don't have to tweak it. It just works for them. Or they prefer Betaflight because they have more control over things and it works just as well as KISS. I've heard it both ways. So it just depends on what kind of pilot you are. And some people just like the fact that they're running something different. I think that plays into it a little bit too. The ESCs, though, they aren't so good. So if I was going to run KISS, I'd probably pair it with a different ESC. But I've heard good and bad. A lot of people swear by it. I have a few people that have told me I must try it in life, and I will someday. But sorry, Saggy Balls, I can't tell you definitively. Ligma, Taking Back Sunday. That's good too, man. Taking Back Sunday. It's the only emo you like. That's okay. I won't knock you for it. At least you like some of it. Sour Shaman. Did you see Chris Rosser's video? I have not finished watching it. I got tagged in a few questions about it though. And one of them was the R1 versus R8 thing. Like I said, did the same thing on the V1. So it wasn't that super surprising to me to hear that. The V1 had the exact same power output issues. And it's not so much an issue as it is just tuning. You can only tune an amplifier for a certain frequency. So either you target in on like R4 and you cut it somewhere in the middle, where R4 has the most power, R1 and R8 have a little less, or in HC0's case, they're targeting R1 and R8 has the least amount of power. And it's probably because they're targeting the lower frequencies where you can technically legally use them without a ham license. If you're running R8, you've got it unlocked. This is the same reason they don't put more than 1,000 milliwatts of output power on it. They're really gearing it for the you don't have to do anything against the FCC regulations if you're in America. So I bet they targeted R1 exactly for that reason. What's up, Flush FPV? Good to see you. Saying, Akif, is there a tutorial to fix the squeaking on YouTube? There probably is. I don't know one off the top of my head. But if you search for something like lubricate throttle Radiomaster, you'll probably find someone who has done it. I don't have anything on it. I actually asked Radiomaster if I could borrow a pocket to show some stuff like that and how to flash it and all those things, but they turned me down on it, so I don't have one. But I'm sure somebody else out there has done the exact same thing. It is really simple. If you just pop the screws off the back, you'll see the stick. If you move the stick around and hear the squeaking, you'll see exactly what's moving. And you just put a little bit of grease on that pad and it'll be fine. But I'm sure someone out there has made that. If you want to go looking for it, it has to exist somewhere. Oh, Chow volunteered earlier. I assume you mean to send me KISS stuff? Send it to me, Chow. I'm down. I'm down to test it. All right. Mysterio, what would be a great motor for the new SpeedyBee 20x20 35 amp stack on 3.5 inch? I just did one with the T-Motor P1604s. I think it's a good motor for it. These RCM Power 1506s would be a good motor for it. You could go up to a 2004, but I really feel like the 1506, the 2004, or the 1506 and the 8 and the 1604 are really good options for a 3.5 inch with a 35 amp stack. And as far as KV goes, you'll probably want to stick to something lower than 3,000, but above 2,200 to be in the zone. These are, I think I did 3,000 KV on these just because I'm crazy. Yeah. But something like a 2,700 KV would probably be more reasonable. Fun per volt FPV. Until I flash AM32, it's Blue Jay for the win. I love Blue Jay, but I've had like 3 people ask me because they have blown ESCs after flashing Blue Jay. They had Blue Jay, they updated Blue Jay, they blew out an ESC. Something's going on with that. So just be careful. Be careful with it. I don't know what it is about that, but that's at least 3 people in the last week have had that problem. Saggy Balls. Good point on something different by running KISS. I think sometimes I like Quicksilver on my Apex for the same reasons. Simple and something different. Yeah. I like Quicksilver on micros. This one has Quicksilver on it. It is the only thing that would make this thing fly without a ton of problems. If you haven't tried Quicksilver on a micro and you have a spare one, it's a good idea. I'm going to be making a video on how to convert a Betaflight quad over to Quicksilver for those of you that are interested. But it's the same thing. Try a different firmware, see if you like it. There's KISS, there's Quicksilver, there's iNav, there's Betaflight, there's all kinds of things, and a lot of it will run on the same hardware. So, you know, it doesn't have to be Betaflight. If you feel like you want to try something different and you have a bunch of quads or a few quads and you can stand for one to not fly right, go try it. It's always fun to try something different, and maybe you'll find something you like. You never know. Wilco, got a Radiomaster EP2 receiver. Want to update to ELRS V3. What target should I take? Happymodel EP2 or Radiomaster RP2? So you're going to want to take the Radiomaster RP2 target. The Radiomaster line is actually RP receivers. So it's the EPs are Happymodel and the RP is Radiomaster. So if you have a Radiomaster, it is an RP2. So you want to take the RP2 target. And I believe on Radiomaster, the RP1 and RP2 are the same target. Sometimes they say RP1/RP2. That's the one you're going to want, though. More than upshot. Look up damping grease. I think Tweet had a video where he applied it to a Mambo or something that size. Yeah. So as far as the sticks earlier, who's saying that's what More than Upshot's saying that who had it? Tweet FPV, maybe, if you find him, had one where he applied it to a Mambo. It's damping grease, but I just use some lithium grease that I like. You can use just about any grease that's lithium based and not organic, but damping grease is specifically made for that case. Ciao. I'll package up stuff next week and send the alpha if you're game for that. I'm game for that. Send me the alpha and I will fly it. I'm probably going to be working from home for the next 3 months anyway. So I'll have more time to build things. 8-bit, a bunch of avocados. Why you send me so many avocados, 8-bit? I don't even like avocados. Hot take, I don't like avocados. Come fight me. Don't come fight me right now, I'll lose. But no, I don't. Who else doesn't like avocados? I'm not a fan. Fun per volt, Niogel. Niogel. What is Niogel? Is that, are we talking about quads right now? We're talking about quads, yeah. That's dielectric, yeah, dielectric synthetic grease. Yes. Niogel is good. That's what I thought. Had to look it up for a minute. Ciao. I flew the alpha for 2 packs. Limit of my KISS ecosystem experience. It flew like crap, wasn't tuned, so maybe I could figure it out. I'll try it. Maybe I'll have the same. So Chow sent me his AOS, and he told me, I don't like this frame. So he sent it to me, and I'm like, I'm going to give it a solid shot. I'm going to build it. I'm going to play around with it and see if I like it, because a lot of people say it's great. I'm going to give it a shot for my perfect freestyle build this year. So I built something with it, and I am right there with Chow. AOS 5 is not something I'm going to own. So maybe Chow's right about KISS 2, but I'll give it a solid shot. We'll see what happens. Chow FB, Saggy had the best suggestion. PTFE heat shrink for the throttle bar. I used to use grease moved on. PTFE heat shrink on the throttle bar. So you wrap it around the throttle bar and just heat shrink it right there. Do you have to disassemble the whole gimbal assembly though to get to that throttle bar to wrap it? Tell me, please, because I'll make a video. I'll make a video about how to do that. I'll find me some PTFE heat shrink. I think I might have some. Born Upshot. I am an avocado convert. I used to hate them, but now I love them. I hate them. I can't stand them. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't like guacamole. I don't like avocados, just avocado. You can't give me avocado toast. I am not that kind of millennial. No, none of it. Chow. Don't like is some tame language for my feelings about that AOS frame. Yeah. Tame feelings for me too. I keep wanting to make a review of it. I told Chow, I'm going to take this frame. I'm going to build it. It is my motor test quad. And I actually, if you watch the T-Motor Velox V3 video, that's the quad I flew. I keep flying it. I keep trying to think, surely it can be better than this. It's not. And I keep trying to give it the benefit of the doubt before I make a review. So I've been putting it off. But at some point, I'm just going to have to call it and give my thoughts on it. What's up, Technique? Good to see you, man. 3D Create. I've seen some 3D printer PTFE tube used. Yeah, but so like 3D printer PTFE is pretty solid though. You couldn't heat shrink it to it, but I guess if you could get it to go on it or cut it up in a certain way, it'd work. Fun per Volt just ordered an AOS version 2 4-inch to be modded. Stress test. It might be fine in the 4-inch. I am not a fan of the 5-inch. The 7-inch, if I was going to cruise only ever, maybe. But my experience with the 5-inch has not been pleasant. It was designed by an engineer, and you can very much tell it's not. It does exactly what he wanted to do. It keeps the frame resonance down. It's a clean frame in that case. Absolutely, that is the truth. But the fact that the arms go on top of the stack screws and you can't get them back out without tearing the whole arms off. And then if you want to tear the arms off, you've got to take the front and the back mid plate or the little connector pads off. I've got to take 8 screws out to get down to my stack screws because they're under something they should not be under. And then whenever I hit something hard enough with the arms, they break because Chris Rosser's flight style is very different from my flight style. And it's great for his, but for mine, it is not. And it has been nothing but frustrating. 8-bit guacamole is the sauce that fuels Quicksilver. Oh, yes, you're right. Now I hate Quicksilver because it has an avocado as its icon. I can't do it anymore. Never mind. Forget about Quicksilver. I'm not going to make a video about it because it has an avocado involved. I can't do it. Saggy balls. Just take off the throttle adjustment spring, clean spring and gimbal of grease, install heat shrink to metal bar, and tension to your liking. I will try it. I will take my son's TX12 and I will modify it. And if it's good, I'll credit you and Chow with giving me the idea. You told me how to do it. Chow brought it up, and I'll show people how to do it. Teflon heat shrink, not standard stuff. Teflon I guess PTFE would be similar to Teflon. So it's Teflon branded or heat shrink. I can find some of that. Fun per volt. I dogged V1 3.5 inch. I guess you're talking about the AOS 3.5. It's so hard. All the arms bent upward. Yeah, it'll do that. Because they're using the 2-strut idea is great for resonance characteristics, but when it comes to crashes, that is not. There is a bunch of meat missing, and things are going to happen, and they do. Absolutely. Morton Upshot. Eating a tomato to me is undoable, but dice that tomato with some onions and jalapenos, and I will eat gallons of it with a dab of guac. I'm with you. I hate tomatoes as tomatoes. Like stewed tomatoes, I don't like them because there's big chunks of tomato. But a sauce made of tomatoes, I am fine with. Pasta sauce, salsa, as long as it's not too chunky. You can't give me a chunky salsa because I won't eat it. And I don't like chunks of onions either. I don't like chunks of jalapenos either. Mostly things that have a skin on the outside but are soft on the inside are a no-go for me unless they are minced so fine or like food processed or blended. I'm a weird Texan that doesn't enjoy chunky salsa. My bad, Morton. I know. Saggy balls. That makes cheap gimbals feel great. My TX12 has the cheap stock Radiomaster gimbals in it, and I will gladly give that a shot and see if it helps. Thank you guys for the idea. Rotor blast. Kind of like when Dave C was making all that micro long range stuff. So flimsy. But it do get that range. Yeah. It's designed for an exact purpose. And the AOS 5, it does exactly what it says it does until you crash it a bunch of times in a way it wasn't designed for. And then it does none of that. And then you got to tear the whole thing apart to work on it. Not to mention there's a 30 by 30 mount in the front. Yeah. So it's right here. It's right here. Let's show you. Maybe I can show you. This 30 by 30 in the front. I am using this as a motor test rig, right? So I put my stack in the front so that I can put my VTX in the back, have a whole lot of area. I can also test different VTXs in this. I'm supposed to be able to use this 30 by 30 for a stack. I put a SpeedyBee stack in there. I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I can get a shot. There's legitimately no clearance at all. I can't get it because of the motor. There's no clearance at all. I had to take a file and file down the camera plates for 3 hours to get a stack to fit in the front 30 by 30. That is not a useful 30 by 30, unless all I wanted to do was put an ESC in there. Even if I put the ESC in there, I still had to file on it because the holes exist, but you can't go past them very far. I was not pleased. All right. Booster FPV, allergic to tomato skin. You're just allergic to the skin? I didn't know that was possible. Fun per volt. Also grew Carolina Reapers. You grew Carolina Reapers. I love hot peppers. I cannot eat them chopped up or raw because of the texture, but I love the flavor. Like anything Carolina Reaper or Ghost Pepper, the Buchalokia flavored, I buy it because I love hot stuff. Super love it. Knowledgy and stuff. Do you still stream with J-Dog? No, he does his own stuff. I used to do game streaming, Knowledgy and stuff, and I go way back. We used to work together. But I used to game stream with this guy called J-Dog, and he owns, now it's Doghouse Gaming. Yeah, he runs Doghouse Gaming on his own. I used to do streams with him, though. I don't do any game streams anymore, sadly. Ricardo Fiera, why isn't there a cheap version of Walksnail? For example, with only the OLED's display, a barebone V1 goggles, but under $400, like an SE version. Yeah, I wish there was too, man. I think that if Walksnail would produce yes, there should be this. It's so new to the market that they can't afford to have two diverging product lines because it costs a lot of money to bring products to market. But if they took the same mold and took the guts from the VRX, which is basically what's in the Walksnail goggles, but then put them on a different set of optics with a different screen that was cheaper than the OLEDs that are in it, because most of those are going to be Sony OLEDs, and they're just expensive. The micro OLEDs are super expensive. That's what drives the cost of goggles up. So if you put something like an LCOS in there, which is still a beautiful display, and then you do a VRX, or you have the VRX built in, not hanging on the outside, but do a cheaper set of goggles that was in like the $300 price range, a ton of people would buy them. But then very few people would buy your $500 goggles. And when you're starting out a product line, a new product line, you want people to buy, you want to limit their options on buying those kind of things, because it will cost you more to run two product lines, especially when most people are going to buy one versus the other. If it was where you get even distribution of purchases between the two, it'd be a little bit different. But a lot more people are going to buy the lower end goggles to try out a brand new system than higher end. And it just wouldn't make sense for them to have two productions of that running at the same time. I would love to see them come out with something cheaper, or maybe this V2 version of the goggles, if that is what comes out in October, will make the current version cheaper, and that will be great for them. I hope that happens. More accessibility into a system like that is never a bad thing. And price is usually the limiting factor. I don't know why it doesn't exist outside of it's probably just because the product's so new, and having two options would maybe be detrimental to their adoption of that product. Rotor Blast. I see why it's a motor test rig. If you crash that hard, the front stack going to take a real hit. Yes, it's a motor test rig. It's not my freestyle rig. It is made for getting motors on there, swapping them easy, doing full throttle punches, doing the flippies and floppies in some places, but it is not for bashing and beating. No, because that's not what that frame's designed for either. It's not a bashing and beating frame. Oh man, I missed a whole bunch of stuff. Steady FPV. I'm looking at the Quadmula Siren F3 for a sub 250 HG0 build. Would you recommend the regular version or the split version? Any experience with this frame? The difference is going to be with the regular version, it's going to be significantly roomier to build. As far as the weight goes, the regular version is also likely going to be a hair lighter. Not by much. The split version is going to perform better as far as resonance goes, but you're going to have to cram your components into a much smaller spot. It depends on how comfortable you are with building. If you are a competent builder of quads, the split would be my recommendation, because that stack for the, especially if you want to do like the V2 HD0 VTX and get the full watt in your 3-inch quad, will fit just fine in the back of that F3 split. It'll fit just fine back there. You could also put it in the regular F3 and have a little more room to work, but it's going to perform worse as far as resonance goes, and you're going to get a better flight care. You're going to be able to push it further as far as flight feel on the split. So if you're a competent builder, go the split. If it's maybe your first or second quad and you want to make it a little easier to build in, maybe go the regular. That's how I'd pick that. Knowledge and stuff. Good times playing Goat of Duty in Rocket League. Leave a comment on the stream if you want to see me play Goat of Duty. I still have that game. It's a cool game. Knowledge and stuff actually showed me that. It's like Call of Duty, but with goats. And it's pretty interesting. He played with it with me a few times. And yeah, I haven't played it in a long time. If you want to see something like that, I'd be happy to do it. Just let me know. Rotor Blast. There is. The receiver module is $200. Yes, we're talking about Walksnail, a cheaper entry point. The receiver module is $200. But if you don't have a good set of goggles, if you're coming off something like an ESC and EV800 DM, and you're wanting to upgrade into a system, but you can't quite invest $500, and you don't see yourself being able to invest that $500 in a realistic amount of time. So you're pretty stuck to either getting new analog goggles or sticking with what you have. Then by the time you buy new analog goggles, even budget ones that are $250, $300, and then you put a $200 VRX on it, you spent the $500 you couldn't afford. So if they had a $300 entry point into Walksnail that didn't require you to have a VRX, it'd be pretty handy. But it's just going to be, I don't see that happening for at least a little while longer if they don't just make the current version goggles cheaper if they come out with a new version. That might be their plan. But coming out with a budget line of goggles, I don't see happening for them for quite a while because it just won't make sense to have different molds and different assembly lines and all those things for a budget style goggle at the moment. Oh, Bot Grinder's here. What's up, Bot? I have your Demibot here. Not your Demibot. That's the wrong thing. I have your Grinderino. Look how pretty it is with these pink motors, buddy. It's going to be really cool. And then the Argus stack, and then Walksnail. I got to figure out how to cram all that in it, though. It's going to be a tight little dude. But good job on the frame. I really like it. It's really nice. I'm going to do a whole video on how to build it, though. And a couple of notes on how to do different things with it when you're using the 25x25. So I appreciate you sending it to me, Bot. Bot Grinder did send me this Grinderino to show everybody how to do stuff with. All right. I gotta get down to these comments. I missed so many comments. Ricardo Fierro, was your YouTube channel affected by this invalid traffic bug? Must not have been, because I never noticed. I don't know what that is. 3D Create, Bacon Ninja, the Fat Chart Recon HD goggles are Walksnail 1080p box goggles for $240. Only downside is max 60. I forgot about those. You're right. Those are the budgets. A lot of people, though, okay, hot take on this. A lot of people don't want to buy box goggles. I don't know why. I am perfectly happy with box goggles. People just, I guess they see the binocular style goggles and they think that's the only thing I could ever fly because all the cool pilots fly binocular style goggles. There's nothing wrong with looking like a nerd in your box goggles. They work great. They're simpler, especially if you wear glasses. I wear my glasses inside my DJI V2 goggles, which are technically box goggles. And I wore them inside of my Eachine EV800 DMs because I looked like a super cheap nerd for the first 10 months I flew. And I'd own another set of box goggles for sure, but everybody wants the cool binocular style goggles, and that's what I have too, because that's what I have to show people how to use. But nothing wrong with a box set, and $240 is a good price to get into that. More than upshot. I think mounting the snail on risers in the back is the way to go. You might be right. You might be right, but see, like this thing is going to be. It's going to take up half the height of the stack, man. Half the height that's in there. And then the Walksnail is going to be up here. And I want to get 2 battery straps in this thing. I don't know. I'm going to have to just fiddle with it a lot until I get it the way I want it. And then I might make a decision to fly a different stack in it. I might wind up with a different AIO than this. I might fly a 20x20. Or heck, I might get a 20x20 stack. Because that seems to be what it's made for. You know, I was talking about the 2 arm screws. If you have 2 arm screws, you're going to get better tightness on this arm than a single arm screw. That seems to be what it's set up for, even though it has 25x25. And I'd love to use the 25x25. But fun per volt. Guy with glasses here, box all the way. I love having my glasses on when I fly. I take them off for binocular style goggles, and I have such a terrible astigmatism. I can't ever get box or goggles to work right. The binocular style with the, you know, they have the diopter adjustments and all that stuff, but they don't adjust my oddly shaped eyes. So it's still, everything looks fuzzy. So having my glasses in works great. I just can't do it on binocular goggles. But on the V2 goggles, and I fly them a lot, because of that, I can leave my stinking glasses in. 3D Create. I think the issue is that getting high resolution micro displays for binocular goggles is really expensive. Yeah, so the little micro panels you have to have for binocular goggles are insanely expensive. You're absolutely right, 3D Create. If you do a box style goggle, you can get a more modern panel. Like we have OLED panels in our phones, right? Really good OLED panels that are even for smaller phones, right? But when you're talking about a binocular goggle, you're talking about cramming all the pixels into a thing this big. And there's very few companies that make OLEDs with that kind of resolution that small. So you spend so much more money on a binocular style goggle with OLED than you would a box style. But people just don't want to buy the box style goggles because they think they look stupid. I think it's fine. More places should make it. It should save us money. We can still get great resolution and great OLED colors for a lot less money. Morton Upshot, you and me both. My right eye doesn't quite work in my sky zones, but I can get close with diopter adjustments. I just have to adjust them often. I have to adjust them every time I put them on and off. Every time I take them off, I got to readjust it because my eyes won't sit in the same spot. And because my eyes are oval shaped, I've got to like move them around a little bit and then adjust them every time. It's a nightmare, but I've gotten used to it. I mean, I've flown for this long. I know how to do it now. It's just annoying. Steady Eddie, the Sky Zone Cobras and Fat Shark Recons are the best options I've used for glasses. Work great until upgrading to the HC0 goggles. Yeah, the Cobra X, great box analog goggle. And then you can put a Walksnail VRX on the front, HD0 VRX on the front, pop a full-size analog module in there. They're great. Perfect. More companies should make that kind of stuff. Nobody will buy it, though. That's why nobody makes it, because nobody wants to buy a box goggle because they don't want to look stupid, even though they're going to look stupid. We put this crap on our face with antennas sticking up out of it. We all look stupid. Just look stupid and save money at the same time. That's whatever. More room for stickers. Fun per volt. Box goggles have more room for stickers. Absolutely. 3D Create. You should review the Recon HDs. You'd probably convince some people. I wish I could. The problem with reviewing things for me is I have no budget to review anything, and nobody will send me anything. There's very few people that do. Like Bot Grinder graciously sent me this stuff. SpeedyBee will send me some stuff. Walksnail, Cadix sometimes sends me some stuff. Other than that, I'm pretty much out on my own. And my budget's so small that if I wanted to review a $240 item, I've got to wait 4 months to review it. I've got to save up for 4 months to spend the money to review it. And that's just, by then, nobody's going to hear it because nobody's going to be caring about the product anymore, unfortunately. But 8-bit. I love my View Optics box goggles. Huge 7-inch display. I guess I haven't seen the View Optics box goggles. I'm going to look them up. And then it's almost time to end the stream, everybody. But I'm going to look these up. I'm going to see. Let's see if I can find them. PV goggles. Emax Transporter 2. I don't see any View Optics goggles. I was going to show everybody on here, but I don't see any. You're going to have to, 8-bit, you're going to have to send me a link in Discord or something so I can find those. Maybe I'll show everybody sometime. Fun per volt. Somebody sent me a used prophylactic once. Why is it got to be used, though? I pulled up to work one day, and there was one of those just laying out in the grass right next to where I parked my car. Just laying out in the grass. So I went and checked the security camera. Apparently at 2 a.m., a couple of people pulled into our parking lot. They just toss it out when they're done. And yeah, so I went and got the intern. And I said, hey, I got a job for you. And I brought him outside and I said, I'm going to need you to bring a trash bag. And I get him all the way over there. And I said, I'm going to need you to pick that up for me. I need you to pick that up and put it in the trash. And he just gave me this blank stare, like terrified. Because he knew exactly what it was. He used prophylactic. He walks over there to do it, and I stop him. It was just a joke. I didn't intend for him to actually do it, but the kid was going to go do it. He actually was going to go pick it up and put it in the trash with his bare hands. Now that's dedication. But no, I told him, I'm just messing with you, man. We'll get somebody else to do it. That's not your job. Let's see. Fun per volt. Firestone, where the rubber meets the road. Exactly. Only it wasn't the road, it was the grass. Steady Eddie. OMG, the Emax Transporter goggles. What a disappointment. They just don't fit over people with glasses. It's the same thing with the ones that come with the the Beta FPV CDIS kit. It comes with the box goggles. They're just so small. They're itty bitty, so you can't put them over any glasses. It just doesn't work. But the Cobra X, the bigger box goggles, yeah, they're great for it. 8-Bit, drop me that in Discord. I'm gonna check it out, 8-Bit, and then maybe I'll see if I can find somebody to lend me a pair, and I'll do a review of them or something. All right, well, it's about that time. It's 4:05. My pain pills are wearing off. It's time to go take more of them. So I'm going to wrap up the stream, but I appreciate everybody being here, and I hope to do this more often. I hope there wasn't too many technical difficulties. I hope that you'll tune in for the Grinderino build as it progresses. You know, we just built the frame today, and I put the motors on. But I'm going to figure out a way to get the stack and the VTX in there, and it's going to be ripping before long, and I'm going to make a whole series on how to build it yourself from start to finish. So if you want to follow along with that, it's going to be coming soon. Thanks again to Bot Grinder, who sent me this frame to be able to do this on. I'm going to have a whole lot of fun making it, and I would love to see you guys make one right alongside me. So let me know if you want to see more of these live streams. Right now, Joshua Bardwell isn't streaming on Sunday, so I'm able to do it on Sunday, and people can actually show up. But I think I'm going to go back to Thursdays. Thursdays seem to work well, too. I'm hoping to do some streams where I can catch people in other countries during the day. Maybe I'll find a weekend way to do it. But, yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I have missed this. It has been great. And, yeah. See you all later. I'm just reading all the last comments. Thank you all very much. Thank you. See you later. 3D Create, Fun per Volt, Chow, Rotor Blast, 8-Bit, Steady Eddie, Morton Upshot, everybody who's still around. I appreciate you all hanging in there. Until next time, stay greasy, and I'll catch you later.